Hey guys, how's it going? Matt from Foulball Productions here. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that you're doing well. I am trying to make myself feel phenomenally. Thank you very much. This
And
is
I'm
the
Vigilante Williamson on another episode of Culture
yes of
Crime
the
Fights.
Culture Crime Fighters. Number what?
Woo!
40? Was it 49,
Eight?
48,
Yeah,
48?
yeah, I think it's 48.
That's pretty significant, you know. That's a fair amount of episodes right there. We're pulling up on a year.
Isn't it? Wait a second. What date is it? Because I feel like the first week of February was the first week we did it.
I think it was the second, but yeah,
Is it the second?
I've kept an eye on that. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
miss our 1 year anniversary. Don't you worry about that.
Okay, because I'm glad you're keeping it. Cause the 1 year the MFers snuck up on me. I was like, really? And because one thing about the MFR, I had a show similar to Brave and the Bold that I abandoned a long time ago. It would have been around a year too. Had I not
Oh yeah.
abandoned it. Jesus, my subs. Oh, I got up to like a high number and it just dropped again. The sub game. Well, I guess I'm in the 670s. I gotta live. With it. It was like the 680s. I was like, oh, and I kind of shout out to James Guy. I kind of grifted my way to some extra subs. But I'm like, yeah, we're gonna get some subs and it just disappear.
This YouTube game is a hustle. It's a hustle. I was up late last night working on a video that's topping out at about 30 views right now, which is very enthusiastic, very encouraging. But it is what it is, I suppose. I mean, look, this is the life we've chosen, right, gentlemen?
I guess.
You know, we gotta. I don't know. Just keep grinding. I can't figure it out, but I don't know. I don't even want to talk about it. I don't. I fucking don't. I want to talk about something else. I want to have fun with my friend Vidge.
Oh no, it was February 17th. That was the original date. Goodness, I thought it was earlier in the year than that. But all right, that's what the time has told me. February 17th, we started off this madness.
Yes, we have. Yes, we did. I'm happy about that. And we got Keely Chow in the chat. Hail, low spec Linux laptop. Sentient Dildo is here. Good to see you, boys.
You were there in the first episode too, Sentient Dildo.
Yes,
you were there.
You're an OG. He was. So despite all his sarcasm, he actually does enjoy this programming.
Yes.
Brightest day, Zax, the intersectionalist himself.
Yeah.
What up, boys?
Hell, brightest day. How are you guys? You're all dope. Thank you for being here.
Indeed, he do. Indeed, he do.
Yes, you are the pillar.
Is the pillar. Yes, he is. And he even occasionally, generally they come with a lot of ill will, but he even occasionally sends a super chat here and there.
Yeah, he's probably sent 2 or 3 all year, but we appreciate all of them.
I appreciate every one of them, and they're always very mean, which is funny.
Yeah, he gets his money's worth.
Yes, sir. So how you doing this morning, Vidge?
Dead to the world, completely
Ditto.
dead. I just thought about like literally like, man, I wish I had a bug out van and just hop in the van, go down the river, and just never be heard from society again. But I think that every day. Yeah, just live in the woods, just bug out, just say fuck it. I don't think I could actually do it though. That's why I don't do it.
No way. Fuck that.
You know, I see the van life stuff and see the people living in their van life, and it seems cool with the video. You know what I mean? Because it's like, yeah, Vidge van life. There you go. You know, the videos all seem cool because they're all edited and shit. But then you're like, yo, you gotta fucking live in a van forever. There's no home. You can't go home.
I mean, as long as you do it for.
But yeah, that's what I mean. I mean, what do you think the process of converting back to normal life is from living in the van? Got to get a job
down by the river.
Yeah, down by the river. You got to get a job. You got to have an address. The address can't be the car. It seems like a madness, but there is that appeal of just like leaving society alone and just living in nature and shit.
I mean, dude, I got a buddy of mine back from LA that did it. And he was always kind of a little weird anyway. But he like went and did that for a while, and the pictures he would share, I was like, damn, dude, like the things that he saw on his van life journey was pretty amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, like I get a kick out of a road trip. Like I love it. Like I went out to the Grand Canyon last year during the lockdowns. I guess it
Yeah,
was,
yeah.
2020 now. But it was awesome, man. Like I drove to Yuma, Arizona, and then I drove to Phoenix, and then up to the Grand Canyon. And then I even stopped in Vegas and did this little tour of Fallout New Vegas, like real world sites, which was awesome. And man, there was just something great about being on the road by yourself in a brand new part of the country, like open road, like it's pretty fun. I mean, even if you're just driving, like a lot of times I was just listening to like an EFAP or something like that, because they're like 8-9 hours and it's just in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
But I loved it, man. I got a kick out of it. I'm missing it. I want to go back and do something like that again.
Yeah.
There is something thrilling about it. I don't know if I'd want to make it my entire existence.
Yeah. That's the like it would be cool to do for a few months or something, but then you're like, okay, back to reality. It's like the idea that no, this is your permanent reality, and you guys are road trips are supposed to end. That's the thing. Yeah, living in the
that's
van
true.
with a motherfucking hippie. You guys invoking Ryan Wilder of Batwoman fame. I guess, yeah. But they didn't promote her as like a van lifer. They just promoted her as like a homeless thought. Like she's just a bum. She's living in a van. Not like, she used to work at a corporation, just converted, was living the van life and happened to be there. No, she was a bum. She was a broke drug dealer. Literally. That's all liberal writers can come up with for a black character as a broke drug dealer. So that's not quite. It's such a deal.
Well, you also need
back to life, back to reality. I'm sorry.
It's liberal writers, but it's also like it is the hive mind too. It's like they have to. It's that they have to hit so many check boxes that they end up creating a stereotype.
Yes, they love their stereotypes, and so.
Really,
but
really
you're
do.
right. It is the check box. It's like, well, we got to make her a strong black woman, but we got to make sure she's oppressed by the machine. So let's make her a drug dealer because the machine's oppressing her. And then you're like, well, you've made this black poor drug dealer as a character, and that's not. I thought you liked black people. Well, I know you don't, but I mean that was your gimmick.
They don't like anybody. You know what I mean? It's all about the collective. It's all about the the cause, the movement. That takes priority. You got to read this book, Cynical Theories, dude. You got to find time to put the audiobook on and listen to this shit, dude. Like it is like a master class in understanding what these people think and why they act the way they do and the way they detail it. I've almost listened to the entire book. Like I'm almost completely done with it. I have like an hour to go. And it's like I want more. Like it's so engaging because the woman Helen Pluckrose, like she's the British what's the word? Like narrator, but she co-wrote it with James Lindsay. And they just go through all this shit and it's like it's just so much insight and access to understanding this shit without like when you're like, oh, okay. It's like all of a sudden you can like jujitsu flip them now. You know what I mean? Like, their own martial arts, like, the origins of all of it. Like not like disagreeing with it, like is built, like is a problem built into the philosophy.
Like it's built for your disagreement, basically.
No. Like you're not allowed to disagree with it by its very nature.
I see.
Like there's a woman that said, like she was talking about some feminist, whatever her ideology was. I think she was a black feminist, and she talks about asking questions, and you can ask questions to better understand it, but you cannot question it or challenge any of her theses. These are her words. Because to do so is either internalized misogyny, internalized racism, or proof that you are part of the power structure she's trying to fight. There is literally no way in the way she teaches this, writes it, or believes you can question it. That's her philosophy.
So, you know what the thing is with me and a lot of the like understanding the left like material, and I'm sure it's great stuff. Part of me just doesn't care to understand them, and I know that makes
you a more powerful warrior, my friend.
But it's just like, because like where I'm at is like I'm sick of these motherfuckers living like completely rent free in my head, and that being the requirement for doing a YouTube channel. It's like, oh, I have to constantly let these psychopaths live rent free, and I have to learn them and study them and this. And I'm not saying it's just like for me, I'm like, you know what, fuck them. They can eat dick. I don't even. They don't. I want to be the one setting the pace on this thing, like, because all of that is because they set the pace. They like everything is true, and I get why they're the media. They're the
Dude, they are
everything.
not fucking going anywhere. That's what I'm trying.
I
That's
agree.
why it's important. Like they're dug in like ticks. I was watching. This was like public, bro. I was at the gym yesterday. I was watching it. Shit, I don't have my phone on me, and it was some investment corporation. It was like Investco, I think it was called. Investco. Is that a real thing? Yeah.
That sounds like it is.
QQQ. And it was the weirdest commercial, man. It was just throwing all these like numbers and images, like and abbreviations and shit, like at the screen, like fast. And I was like, I don't even know what the hell I'm looking at it. But you know what I saw in the middle of all that? What do you think I saw? What do you think I saw? An investment company in 2022. What do you think? What
Equity?
3 letters?
Oh, equity. ESG.
ES fucking G. They're not even hiding it anymore. They're publicly advertising it, bro.
Yeah, because most people don't know what it is, and I'm like I said,
no fucking clue.
Which is the whole point. Normies don't know.
And don't be a fucking normie. Don't be asleep.
It's not to be asleep, but like I didn't need. Like I recognize certain elements, like what you just talked about, and just by the nature of what they are, you're not allowed to question everything because of how the status was with the jab.
I know
question
that
from the jab.
I know you know that, but when you hear of it from their own mouths, it just gives you more like confidence in your own observational skills of their bullshit. You know, it's like you're not paranoid, you're not like overly sensitive, you don't have there's nothing wrong with you for questioning this shit. Like you are 100% right to like your conclusions were correct, your insight into their bullshit was correct, and you can hear it from their own fucking mouths how full of shit they are. It's amazing. Yeah. It's like it's a blessing, dude. It's so good. And like the last part of the book, like they detail like how important it is that this shit is not over. Like how this academia has created these positions of these cultural like diversity officers and shit like that.
Yes, yeah,
and they're in government. They're in all these major corporations. It is getting more and more important to be aware of all this shit and fight back as hard as you can because it's not going anywhere.
I know it's not. I know it's not going anywhere. My thought of the tactics is, it is already that phase is already happening. It is already everywhere. Hell, even with my job, I have a like sneaky suspicion there's a like diversity gimmick for even my team because like there's almost no white people on my team.
Really?
Just yes, we're all either black or Latino, almost all of us. Wow. And I'm like, that's interesting. You know what I mean? So like, it's not. It is everywhere. It's already everywhere. It's already there. And it's not that I don't want to learn about it. Hell, man, the war. Hell, anyone's hopping in. Shout out to the bot. Shout out to Central Diddle actually being a competent mod. I appreciate that.
I knew it.
It's not that I don't want to learn about it or don't want to break it down. I'll listen to Tom. So, and I probably will listen to that book. You keep recommending it. I'm sure I'll end up checking out. But I guess at some point I do want to be the one like that they have to react to instead of me having to react to them.
And I mean, look, that's a world I'd love to live in. You know, it's like Fred Johnson from The Expanse, where he's like, "That sounds great, son," and that's a world I'd like to live in. But like right now, we got to deal with the world the way it is.
Yeah. But I get that's my way of dealing with it. At a certain point, it's like, okay, you know what? Fuck you. I'm the one that you should be worried about. I shouldn't be worried about you. And that takes time. That takes building a platform. It takes whatever. But like, that's just where my head is. It's like, Jesus. And part of it is just from doing this. Maybe that's just a little bit of burnout from doing this for almost 2 years now, or a year and a half. And it's just like every day, the new thing that the left has done, or somebody said liberal left, leftists, whatever you want to call it, SJWs, authoritarians, psychopaths, cucks, whatever you want to call these guys. And it's just every day it's the new thing. It's them being mad at this, it's them tearing down that institution, it's this them doing this, and then me reacting to it.
Yeah,
And
but
me
that's the
trying to
thing. You don't
analyze
have to
things.
react to it. I'm not saying you have to react to it. You don't even need to acknowledge it. But when you know, oh, this is X path. This is, okay, there's no such thing as objective truth. This is the postmodernist philosophy of that. Like, once you know, like, their playbook, they can't come at you with anything you haven't seen yet. Because they're not innovating shit. All they're doing is destroying everything, and they have a playbook of how it goes. And once you read their playbook, it's like you're Belichick with their offense. Like, you just you got like there's nothing they're gonna slip by you. There's not gonna be anything that surprises you. It takes away so much of their power when you know exactly what plays they're gonna run.
Does it? Question mark.
Yeah.
And here's why I say that.
At least personally.
Hopefully, if it does personally for you, then dope. I guess I remember being on Shout Out to Comics Division, and I remember being on this panel, and we were talking about rules for radicals, and we saw like some of the like a breakdown of the rules and stuff. So like we knew some of the stuff that was going on and where a lot of stuff was going on, World Economic Forum, and all this knowledge, but it wasn't creating a reaction that changed. It wasn't really. We didn't do anything new. We didn't do anything different because we knew these elements of the playbook or knew that they were going. It was like, we're still just waiting for them to do something and then talking about it. Waiting to react.
Look, I'm just saying, it's helped me. You handle it however you like, my friend. I'm just saying that it's like once I went down this, I was like, oh, all right. Like I don't know. It just gives me so much more insight into what they're doing. You're like, okay, this is that. Like, it's shit that I kind of already sort of knew. Yeah. Like on an intuition level, but when you have it confirmed and like expressed, and they quote the passage, like it's like, and they're so intellectual, these people that wrote this book. Like, it's like you feel like you're righteous in your rejection of this stuff instead of just kind of like throwing a fit. It's a little more like, okay, like I'm not paranoid, I'm not like overly focused on bullshit. Like, this is the real deal, and I'm actually on the right side of history on this one. Yeah. And it's I don't know, it's like comforting. Like, it's like the whole when Jordan Peterson first broke out on what's it called, Rogan. Like, everybody was just collectively like, someone, it's like says it as I see it. Like, thank God. It's I don't know. I think it's really enriching, and I think it's a good thing. And it's like, it's not fucking going anywhere. So
no, it's not.
I recommend spending the time with the book. But you know what? Sentient Dildo recommends Kimberly Crenshaw, and I was so caught up in my fucking diatribe, but I Googled her. It's like, oh, you dick. She's exactly. She's one of them. I think she's probably even mentioned in the book. Yeah. It's like, Sentient Dildo. Ha 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 ha.
Yeah. Does anyone in the chat at least understand where I'm coming from though? Like, I do understand I do understand that there is value in understanding the modern, wackadoodle left, the SJW left, and that there's a rule set and everything. But I don't feel like that knowledge is, at least this is not just you, this is just in general. I feel like we're still waiting for them to do something and then reacting to it. And that's still the modus operandi of our reaction to it. And it just doesn't seem like a that's going to succeed long term. Like you said, they're not going anywhere. So just pointing at them every time they do something and gain more power and gain more equity, so to speak, in the state and in the culture at large, it's like we're busy studying them while they're making even bigger moves. They're tossing ESG out there for the normies now. They don't care anymore. They don't have to, because they've established so much groundwork, and all we're doing is looking at the tracks.
You think it's like that Simpsons episode where all the ads start destroying the town, and if you don't look at them, they don't have any power?
I don't know if it's necessarily that.
Is that what you mean?
I just feel like we got to come up with a different tactic strategy.
Yeah,
for buying a lot of ammo.
That's what I mean. It almost sounds like that, dude. Like what else do you mean? Like, what else? What's the other alternative? Like, do we just get off YouTube, or do we just talk about sports, or like how do you handle it without talking about it?
It's not that how do we handle it without talking about it, but it's like how do we become the things, like how do we set the pace on anything? You know, one guy who that did do some of the stuff that I'm kind of thinking of, whether I'm a biggest fan of him or not, but fucking what's the guy? Grew up not too far from me. Crowder. He would do the one, you know, one thing, the change my mind shit, where he would go to a college, put in, you know, there are only two genders, change my mind, because now that's me pushing back. That's not me waiting for you to say something and then reacting to it. It's not me waiting for you to destroy a franchise. It's me going to a college and saying there are two genders, change my mind. I'm the thing you have to react to.
No, I get that, but I think if you want to take that route, like the best way to do it is to be as educated on their bullshit as possible. Because the thing about what they do, they destroy, but they're very effective at it. Like, and you don't want to get caught off guard with a tactic you're not ready for that they practice, because that's what they do. Like they have a million different tactics on how to take care of this shit. But if you know what their playbook is, they don't innovate shit. All they do is go to these camps, learn the ways, and then take it out into the world. Well, if you like read the playbook of what the camp is, they can't throw anything at you haven't seen.
That's a better kind of explanation. Like, and you said that already, but like, we have to have a tactic of something. Now, I don't want to use the term aggression because it's not physical aggression, but like we have to have a tactic that puts us on we have to use that knowledge for something than other than reacting. That's really what my point is.
Oh, I feel you. Okay, yeah, I get that.
That's probably the best way to say. I'll say Sean Connery versus Applesauce. When can we start to act instead of only reacting? Then we begin winning. That's what I'm trying to say. I may not be so elegant, just having woken up, but that is what I'm trying to say. It's like, okay, we have to at some point have to go on the offensive.
What would that look like?
I guess I gave the Crowder example. More things along those lines, where we're not just sitting there waiting for you to come into our franchise and make everyone gay. We're going to your college and providing something you have to react to. You know what I'm saying? We're going to your side and giving you something, because otherwise, what are we doing besides waiting for them to fuck something up and then cry about it?
Well, I mean, what was Crowder was doing? He was going there, but it's a reaction to their bullshit too.
True.
I mean, he wasn't like, you know, it's like people who used to do that. You know, you just say, let's say a Candace Owens or Shapiro or something like that. Someone who would just go to a college. Initially, what they were doing was just talking about the world from their point of view. Once it became, oh, we're canceling, we're deplatforming you for having the wrong opinions, then it became an engagement with all this stuff because there was no way around it. Mm-hmm. So it's like, as much as Crowder's thing was cool, it's more of like a viral moment than anything. It's what it does is it's just exactly like Jordan Peterson or this book does. It's like it helps people who are not like programmed recognize that there are others out there like them who don't swallow all this shit.
Yeah. But I guess in my head, like, that reached normies, though, is my point. Like, there were people who were on neither side of this, who can see something and then say, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah,
and so
yeah.
That's where, that was a viral moment. But I mean, that was really where all those characters, not characters, but all the individuals you're talking about were way more impactful at the beginning of you knowing who they were, as far as Jordan Peterson,
right,
as far as Candace Owens, Ben Shapiro, whatever. The first year or two of you knowing of their existence, they have way more impactful than now they're just settled in and now they're their own institutions to just, you know, sell my Sherry's berries and shit like that too. Man,
you sound pretty black-pilled. I'm not really sure what to like. I don't know what the next thing would be. Like, I don't know what you're even advocating for.
I'm advocating for figuring out what the next thing is, because this long term goes nowhere, is my thought. I'm not saying I have the thought, but I'm saying that we have to do something more than the left is, because the left is bad. React to it. There has to be a better. If the goal is to win, if the goal is to long term win, and it is a long term thing, it's not something that we're going to figure out and just do. But like, there has to be there has to be a solution other than reacting to the left, because it hasn't helped.
The final solution? I hear you.
No. Fuck. Yeah, just ideologically cleanse them. No, please God, don't. There has to be this isn't working. We've been now reacting to them for years, and they just get more and more power.
Yeah, but I think the resistance is stronger than ever.
Yeah.
I think people are hot to it. The problem is now that it's a little late, not late, but it's a little difficult now because they're entrenched. It's not just the universities. I mean, conservatives have been rallying against this for years. They're just terrible at articulating it. Because it's like they still a lot of them still just want to be in power. Like it's Kerry Smith and what's his name over there at Unsafe Space used the analogy of the One Ring, where it's like the left is like like the SJWs are like Sauron and Mordor, but then like the conservatives are like Boromir. Like he wants it for the humans. Like no, destroy the Ring of Power. That's the whole point. No one should be controlling society like an authoritarian. And that's the issue. Is like the right just wants it back for themselves. Like, no. Stop. Stop with the Ring of Power. This is supposed to be egalitarian.
Yeah.
So it is difficult I mean, it's frustrating. Like I don't want to pick a side either. But I just think that if we're going to war with these motherfuckers, it's better that I know their plays than to just kind of be reactionary in the moment to what they throw at me. I want to know more, and I want to understand my enemy, and I want to be able to combat them because, like, I want it to be like Neo. When they throw strikes, it's just like, you know what I mean? Like nothing's going to land because I already know every punch you're going to throw. I've seen it all. I've heard it all. You got nothing to surprise me with.
That's fair. And that is the right way to think. But it has to be. It shouldn't be just like, all right, I know all this knowledge, so I'll wait for them to come pick a fight, and then when they pick a fight, that's when it's like I'm like, okay, no, I have to now pick the fights. I have to go to them and bully them.
Well, there is an alternative too. I mean, it's like we talk about all this stuff. The one alternative that you can do is just kind of go about your life and listen to content that's not related to politics or liberals or conservatives, and you can find that on the Culture Crime Fighters Secret Identities Patreon, baby. We just dropped a new episode today. It's called Clueless Anti-Football Pussies 2.
Yes.
Because this past weekend of football was so exciting. Me and Vigilante recorded an episode where we talked about the football games, but we did talk about other things. It wasn't just football.
Yeah, we talked about how you dating younger women, all sorts of stuff. So there's all sorts of crap outside of just football. Because I know not everybody's a sports ball fan, but some of you guys are sports ball fans. So you will like our the last couple weeks of grade A, better than ESPN, which is no longer a high bar football analysis that we give. They're trying to get their way back. But yeah, please check out our Patreon. Please check out the Culture Crime Fire Secret Identities. We have like 6 or 7 episodes now.
7 episodes, and it's good stuff. I think it's really fun content. So you guys take a look. I think you guys will appreciate it. It's funny content, and we're, you like us. So there you go. That's an option. That's a way to do it. Oh, that's not work. Oh, well, anyway. So check out there it is. Check out the Patreon, the Secret Identities. New episode up right now. You got 7 episodes besides this one to look at. $5 a month, baby. $5 a month.
Yeah. More entertainment value than Disney Plus. I keep saying that. I agree with that. I stand by that. I'm not just saying that because, it's my shit or our shit. It's serious. I think the people in this chat will be more entertained for their money, giving us their money for the podcast than giving it to Disney Plus.
100%. All right. So should we go on to the first story of the day?
Yeah, we can.
So I made a video about this last night, which you can check out. It's a short video. It's only like 5 minutes up on my channel right now. There's a little Easter egg on the end too, which I don't know if anyone's actually seen it, because my view engagement numbers are not terrific on the video. I'm trying not to look at it, but the last 10 seconds has got a little fun little joke, little Easter egg. So go take a look. But it's about Mr. Peter Dinklage.
Yeah. And I think I did hear some of this. Go ahead.
Well, we know Mr. Dinklage most famously for playing Tyrion Lannister in Game of Thrones. And he recently was complaining about, I don't know if you remember this, a few weeks ago, he was saying that Game of Thrones fans were upset that the way it ended because they, quote, wanted the pretty white people to walk off into the sunset, which, as I pointed off into my video, was not the fucking case.
Yeah.
The case was we didn't want it to suck. We didn't want it to destroy the franchise. We wanted to be able to, enjoy this show and not never go back to it.
Yeah.
But he's back at it again.
Yeah, I did see him being back at it again. And shout out to Central Ditto. He has a short temper, but I'm tis.
I made a bunch of those jokes in my video too. Yes,
bless his little heart. Yeah, there's going to be a lot, probably quite a few here.
Well, you know what? At this point, you're asking for it. What are we supposed to do?
Yeah, what are we supposed to do? But yeah, I did hear about this his new thing. It's Snow White. It's okay to make a Latinx Snow White, but it's not okay to not doing something about the dwarfs. You bigot. Apparently
that's essentially it. That you actually nailed it. Yeah, I mean that's really exactly the story. He says, yeah, like this whole thing is progressive to cast a Latina, blah, 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 but you're still doing this fucked up story with 7 dwarves living in a cave. What the F are you doing, man?
What the F is he doing, man? It's fucking Snow White. What do you want? What do you want? What do you want? Yeah, he is just stirring shit up to promote his movie or whatever he is. But like, what?
He says little is the joke there.
There you go. But it's like, what do you? I know what you guys want. You want terrorize. Maybe that's why I should read the fucking James Lindsay book. Maybe you're promoting it in that way. But it's just like, Jesus Christ, bro. You just want to complain. You motherfuckers just want to complain.
Well, that's the thing. It's woke, but it's not woke enough, and that's the problem. It's never woke enough. It's never enough. There is no end game with this shit. There is no utopia where finally everything's as representative as they want, because the problem, what they're trying to do is achieve this social equity, basically correcting all of the wrongs that happened in history and fixing it today, right now, in everything, in government, in representation in workplaces, in this shit. And there's no end to that. There's no way you can find a day when you'll finally be satisfied with enough overcorrection. So it's like it never ends. And I think it's actually hilarious. So he puts this out there, blah, blah, blah. Disney immediately responds, like within a day or less.
That I didn't see.
Yeah, that's the most recent development on this terrific story. So they immediately, oopsie daisy, respond. And once again, I covered all this in my video, so go for it. Check that out.
Yes, check the video out.
Yeah, so
just
Disney.
Stuff,
no, we give entertainment. Immediately they respond. Where is it? Where are we?
There it is.
Yep.
This is the spokesperson responded.
Go ahead, Mr. Vigilante.
Right.
Please read.
Disney spokesperson responded to Dinklage's comments, telling the Hollywood Reporter to avoid reinforcing stereotypes from the original film. We are taking a different approach with these 7 characters, and I've been consulting with members of the dwarfism community. We look forward to sharing more as the film heads into production after a lengthy development period, the spokesman added. At top of this, the Hollywood Reporter did damage control for Disney, claiming the film has been in development for 3 years. The studio has been reimagining the dwarf characters since the early stages. So I don't know what that means. They're not going to be dwarves, because then
I don't know, but it worked out great when they did it in the Willy Wonka remake. So by all means, do it.
I don't remember that. You talking about the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory? That shit looked like a fucking what we now call nightmare fuel. So I had no interest in watching that. No interest in that.
Terrible. I remember hating that movie.
It just sounded like a bad idea. Like, I don't need Tim Burton. Like, Johnny Depp is great when he's not working with Tim Burton, and then he brings the like madness out of him, and it's because like there's a couple Johnny Depp Tim Burton movies that are good, but like a lot of them get really trash.
Yeah, it's I mean, he's literally like, I never understood what that term meant, becoming a parody of yourself, until I saw like Tim Burton's modern movies, and you're like, oh yeah, you're literally a parody of yourself.
Yeah.
What is going on with the bots today?
You know, the bots have been active in these streets recently, like bad. Like it's just been nothing but bots. Like other streams that I'm watching, I see a lot of bots. Other streams that I'm on, I see a lot of bots. It's just nothing but bots. And actually, I think I got the person. Dildo just brought him back to life, back to reality. But no,
So weird.
it's there's tons of bots now. There's tons of bots. Every time I'm streaming, there's like 15. Not 15. There's a few bots that show up every time I'm watching the stream. There's a few bots. I don't know what it is. It's just a part of the YouTube
The ecosystem.
Yeah,
Now. Yeah. I
yep,
guess
they're
every. Yeah, they all got every ecosystem's got parasites and fungi.
yep. They're the algae of YouTube.
So weird. Anyway, yeah. So, what do you think about this whole story, Mr. Vidge?
I think it's hilarious, and I really want to see what they do with those dwarfs. I can't wait because okay, what happens if and it's a parody, not parrot of yourself, Pat. So what happens if you remove the dwarfs? Now they're not being represented. If you don't make them dwarfs, they're no longer being represented, and now they don't exist. But now they're not offending anyone because they're not 7 dwarfs. They're the 7 whatevers. So this is my question for the woke. Like, what do you do if they erase the representation in order to erase the, I don't know if racism, what, ableism? Would it be ableism? Is that the right ism?
I think that's the one they would go with. Yeah.
Bro, we don't want to be ableist, so there's no more dwarfs. But now there's no more representation. So what do you want? So I think, yeah.
Well, funny you should say that because the story continues to develop.
Oh.
This story's got legs for whatever reason. So this came out just today, I suppose. This was on Bounding into Comics, put this out. So British para-Olympian Will Perry on Snow White. I don't think we should cancel a fairy tale that is so well loved.
Well,
And he
nice
appears to be a member of the dwarfism community to me.
He does appear to be.
Yes. He says, made it clear he disagrees with the Game of Thrones actor Peter Dinklage and the Walt Disney Company's thoughts on the classic Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs story. He called this, so there's recapping the story.
Yeah.
And he's like, and you like just a self-righteousness of all these people. Have I done nothing to advance the cause from my soapbox?
Have I done nothing? Shut
You're
up.
a fucking clown, man. You're an actor, dude. You're supposed to entertain. That is your job. Your job is not to move causes. Just dance, monkey. Fuck.
There's more bigotry. He has to fight for he's fighting for the cause, you ableist bigot. He's fighting the cause against dwarfism. He's done so much work for the cause. He's progressive. He's progressed the narrative forward, and you bigots don't understand. No, I don't know, man. These people are very, very indeed self-righteous. Very I don't know. They do have a tendency to believe their own bullshit when they're in that celebrity strata. They do have a tendency to really believe that they're like, I don't know, like everybody thinks they're Malcolm X nowadays. Every actor, every writer, everybody thinks they're just the genius progressive rebel who's going to fight, and once they do something that's going to change the way we all think, and we'll all be a part of the hive mind with them.
And if any one of them actually lived it, I would be fine with that. Like, if there was a guy out there who, you know, like a Brad Pitt, right, and he made $25 million a movie or whatever, and he lived on $100,000 a year and spent every other dollar he made on, like, you know, building camps here or like helping this group and like just live that life, I would be all fine with that guy preaching all day long. None of them do that, though.
Not one even really gets close.
No.
Not one of them even tries.
No, they're fine living in this huge luxury. They could affect so much actual change, right? How much charity they could. I know they don't donate to charity, but we're talking like, you could still live well.
Yeah.
On a few $100,000 a year. That's an incredible life. But you
Yeah,
got to
it
keep up
is.
with the Joneses in Hollywood. You got to stay cool with the clique. You got to have your yachts and your multiple homes. So until you give all that shit up, shut the fuck up. I don't want to hear it from you, man. I do not want to hear preaching from you people at all. Ever.
Yeah, fuck. Leonardo DiCaprio is all about the fucking climate change and couldn't not be on a private jet.
Bro, did you see that fucking yacht we showed last week?
Yeah. He's so old. Climate change. Like, listen, you still want your yachts and your bitches. Shut up.
I mean, look, that's fine. Have all that shit. Good for you. I'm glad life was so generous to you that you were able to accomplish such lofty goals. That's incredible. Very, very happy for you. But don't tell me how to live my fucking life.
They're better than you. They can. They're in Hollywood.
Ugh. And even if it was just, I think it used to even be just a smaller contingent, right? It used to be like the Sean Penns, the John Cusacks, and you're like, all right, whatever, shut up, douchebag. Now it's literally every single one of them.
Yeah, and it used to not be like, it wasn't like intolerable. They would say they're one, because remember, you didn't see celebrities all the time. There was no Instagram.
That's true too. That's a good
so
point.
You would only see them for the award show. You would only see them at that speech. So when they said, "Oh, do better for the environment," it's like, yeah, we can stop throwing trash anywhere. Excuse me. Like, yeah, whatever. Yeah, environment good. We like the environment too. So we'll and not really care. It just in one ear without the out the other and on to life. But now it's like we know so much about them. We see so much about them. They always have the ability to say or do something stupid. And so they do.
And not only that, they have like this applause factor too. And they're so paranoid of losing their status or like getting negative responses from the wrong people. They're like someone pointed out so brilliantly when we had Gary on the Culture Crime Fighters, back in whenever that was, July, August. And it was, someone mentioned this and it was so precise on one of Gary's videos. It was about the Kevin Smith thing with Master of the Universe, and how, the problem on Twitter is just a small minority of people who are upset. Well, it's really interesting what small minority of people you pick to empower, because most of these SJW people, the angry mob, is a small minority of people, but for some reason, their point of view is more valid than people who've been fans of the thing for 40 years. It's just like, you're full of shit. It's all agenda, and you expect us to not see through it, and you insult us when we call you out accurately.
Well, you know what? I've been thinking about this. Like, there's a reason they expect us not to see through a lot of their bullshit. And it's because before past 5 years, we didn't see through a lot of their bullshit. And so they're almost shocked that we now noticed a lot of this stuff. You know what I'm saying? So, obviously, the past 5 or 6 years is when the wokeness ramped up. And I'm not necessarily even saying wokeness per se, but there's been bullshit in Hollywood for years. And they were able to do a lot, not to sound like a fucking Bible-thumping conservative, I'm far from that, but they were able to, like, totally destroy culture in another way and morally degrade us for years, and we just went along with it. We was like, this is just the modern era, and we just went along with it. So at a certain point, it just was like, you guys are noticing that we're now trying to, destroy all your myths. What you didn't notice last year, or you didn't notice 5 years ago when we were just making shitty G.I. Joe movies, now you notice?
Well, it was different. It was just, I think it was more ineptitude back then. Like, it was more like, all right, we don't care about this story. Obviously, we're too smart and interesting to actually enjoy like a comic book. We like the piano or whatever. And so it's like when they would fuck it up in the past, they usually just it was a misinterpretation of the source material or like a cash grabby angle where, we're going to make a violent property PG-13 so that we get the biggest audience. We'll just cast a superstar in it and then we'll collect checks. Like, it was poorly done, but it wasn't done for any agenda other than trying to make money.
Yeah.
Whereas now it's done where, like, money be damned, the fans be damned. We need to re-educate the public with this very, one-sided agenda. And so it's to me, that's way more offensive.
It is way more offensive, but it's like their logic for not for just being so unabashed at like narrative controlling comes from having controlled the narrative on so many other things. It didn't matter to us as much as this shit does. It didn't matter. They're just making a shitty remake or a shitty. They did a fucking remake of The Honeymooners that in the early 2000s with Cedric the Entertainer. Who the fuck could have possibly asked for that then? Nobody did. But you didn't look at it as a woke remake. It was it's just a cash grab. And so
we didn't know what woke was. See, that's the reason why I bring up that book so much, is because it's important to understand how long these indoctrination camps have been running. Like, it's not this is a new phenomenon because it's mainstream, but the ideas are not new. They've been around for a long time. Like, and the modern woke stuff has been around as recent as the 80s.
Really?
Yeah. Like, that's when a lot of these ideas really started to take hold. So that's why, people think I'm fucking paranoid when I call it back out from the older stuff. But it's like, no, you could see it. Like, it's consistent with the education. Most of these people in Hollywood, they're college educated. They already got all these received opinions way back when. It wasn't as, universal as it is now, but it definitely was there. It's been around.
Yeah, speaking of the 80s,
I did read a book since though. Great book.
Yeah, but like one thing I think about, like, since I don't know how long, it feels like the 80s, like Married with Children and Homer Simpson, the like dumb dad trope, like the incompetent dad trope, that became like a huge thing 80s on. And that was just like that's been normalized. The dad's an idiot. The mom, even though Married Children, they were all kind of scummy, but usually the mom is like, the smart one, and the women are all smarter, the men are all dumber. Who's calling me? Who is this?
Jesus, guy on the air.
I don't got any friends from this number. It's the CIA. They're trying to harass me. Trying to intimidate me.
I don't think Married with Children falls into that one, though, because that one was actually funny. And the thing was, he was like over his wife, and he like didn't want to bang her. Like, he was just, which was the most like realistic depiction of being with a woman for a really long time. And you're just like, she just wants dick, and you don't want to give it to her.
Yeah, it is the handlers. They're like, shut the fuck up. No. But yeah, it's. I don't know.
Yeah, Low Spec Linux Laptop points it out. No, this is not new. I started to notice in the early 90s when politically correct was being used to create division where there was none. Here. That's what I mean. That was that first wave came right out of the 80s. Once the activists took hold in the 90s. And then for whatever reason, I don't know, maybe they hadn't figured out how to universally profit from it because it went away. And we had some amazing shit in the 90s.
I think it went away because it didn't have the legs it does now. It didn't have the they groomed the generation specifically for this.
Yeah.
We talk about, oh man, someone born in 2000, they're now in their 20s now. And is that, but like that generation who were born in 2000 were specifically groomed at every step of the way, from their culture, from the teachers they had, to be the people to be most receptive of this. They were specifically chosen. We were groomed to allow that generation to happen, and they were groomed to be the SJW generation.
Yep.
So that's a part of it. There's a lot more of it. He said it didn't went away. Just wasn't as widespread and insane. That's true too, but like it didn't move the needle. Politically correctness, which was proto wokeness, it didn't move the needle. It was just like it would happen, but it was, you were allowed to make fun of it, you were allowed to question it, you were allowed a lot more leeway relative to it. It wasn't this monolith of culture where they were just like, and then using all the stuff that happened in 2020, all the in my opinion, manufactured racial strife or manufactured situations or whatever you want to think of the situations to kind of give them like some sort of moralistic edge. Like, oh, well, you don't want to be anti-racist. You're not anti-black, are you? And then you look at what the definition, what it actually is in practice, you realize this is fucking anti-human. But they now have this false sense of I don't know if morality is the right word, but just a false sense of
like being correct,
yeah. And so
moralistic superiority.
yeah, that's probably a better phrase. The false sense of moralistic superiority they are operating with. And and then, like you guys said, it's so widespread. It is the mainstream media. It is every celebrity. It is every vestige of culture. It did need the internet to spread. It definitely needed Tumblr and a lot of these other places to foster some of this crazy stuff and to have people thinking about a lot of stuff. Shit, man. I know I'm rambling now, but I remember being in college and the transgender thing was not a thing. Mm-hmm. And they were just starting to do the guilt trip about you're not supposed to say anything about transgenders. And it was like, what? It was so foreign. It was like, one, this is a Wendy's, ma'am. Like, what does this have to do with anything? And two, it was like, what are you telling me what I should think about anything? Like, what do you
mean, that's the thing. It's the way they preach and proselytize about how you're supposed to see the world, what you're supposed to do, how you're supposed to interact with it. Because I actually did have a teacher in college that was trans. It was at this community college, and it was, weird. Like, you know what I mean? It was like very bizarre. But after like a few weeks, you're just like, oh, he's a chick. Like it just felt like a woman. Like it didn't feel like a man. It was just like, all right, it's weird for sure. It's a unique person, but the person was a good teacher and you got over it. It wasn't that big of a deal. And I think we all it was a community college too. So we're not exactly talking about Yale here. You know what I mean? It's a lot of like essentially high school dropouts and stuff like that. So not typically the most intellectually enlightened people on the earth. And it wasn't a big deal. No one even talked about it after class. It's sort of like, oh, did you see that? Did you see that? It was what it was. And similarly, actually bring it back to this story, I also had a dwarf teacher who was, another teacher, which I was like, this is a really weird faculty. But it was, but once again, it was like, at first you're like, oh, okay, that's weird. And then after a while, you don't notice it anymore. Like, you just like, okay, it's a person. But the thing is, like, now it's like that little room where you adjust, not allowed. That is offensive.
Yeah, you're not supposed to have an adjustment period. But he's a chick.
I know, but I'm just like I'm not like I believe it exists. I'm not saying it doesn't. And regardless of what the reason is, it's like I'm willing to treat you however the hell you want to be treated. It's the penalties that come along with it. It's the fact that you can't say anything, you can't make jokes, you can't have a question about like any of the policies that follow. That's where I draw a hard and fast line.
Yeah, and no, he's at community college. He did let you guys know it was a community college. You guys been to a community college?
I've been to a community college.
And the answer is obvious.
The bearded lady and the dwarf. You're right. That's hilarious.
Oh shit, man! That is kind of circus shit. But like shit. But I remember in the community college, what it was is man, my thoughts were like crazy because I thought this was a hilarious thing. So it was a woman, and for she was the teacher, and there was one one day of class, her daughter was there, and they were talking about her ex-husband and the daughter's father was now transgender, and they were just talking about how the world was so mean to him and all this other stuff. And I couldn't help but think like, man, you were such a bad wife that your husband became a chick after. That was my thought. And I know that's not right. And like, that's, culturally wrong. But like 2006 or 7, that was just like the only thought I had. Like, wow, you must be a piece of work to be married to. And you're not helping by just browbeating me randomly. This didn't call for it. There was nothing in the news. It was just, hey, stop hating transgenders. And it's like, right. Bro, there's like, where is this even coming from?
Yeah.
And why are you putting your personal business out there? This is a speech class. This has nothing to do with any of this shit.
It was like the whole Trump thing. It was like when I first heard about Trump running for president, the first thing I heard was he's the worst possible candidate. You should never vote for this guy. That was like the first thing I heard. It's like I haven't even had a chance to think about it yet. Like, but you're already telling me how to think about it.
Yeah.
You know, it's like that's the first thing they say is don't hate transgenders. You're like, what are you even talking about?
Yeah.
Like, I just got here. This is the first I'm hearing of this.
Yeah, like what in the world? Like, why is this? There was no setup for this. There was no like lead into this. This is just
right.
You just randomly like imagine having a conversation about anything else and just randomly just being told something like this. Like, don't hate this group. Okay. Sure,
right.
Man.
If I was gonna introduce you to a comic book, I'd be like, "Don't hate on this comic book, okay? It's an important piece of work." And you're just like, "Oh, okay. What is it? Oh, all right. Well, it's like the idea that you just start off telling people how to think about a thing is really weird."
Yeah. Shout out to Mother Russia. They are active. I'm glad Russia loves us. We're big in Russia.
Do you want to? We've been going off on little tangents, but there is a little bit more to the story.
Oh yeah. Let's get back to the story.
Will Perry appeared in Good Morning Britain, and he declared, "I don't think we should cancel a fairy tale that's so well loved. Obviously, so many people, they don't love it for the dwarves. They love it for the story, and innocently as well. So I don't think it should be canceled. It's a brilliant to have a little look. Oh, that's and say, okay, let's consult people with dwarfism, get their opinion. We might have to make some tweaks, but I don't think it should be canceled at all, even if it's just adjusting the names slightly or the way we are presented. We're not in a cave. We are in a house. We are not depicted as mindless, stupid characters. We're sentient beings. We have feelings." I mean, also, Mr. Perry, I don't even really think the dwarves are people in this story. I think they're the mythical variety of dwarves, like from Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, they are.
It's a fairy tale.
Yeah, and they're not really particularly. I mean, they're not like depicted poorly. They are just depicted in these monolithic personalities, dopey, sleepy. You know what I mean? But they're not like, I don't know.
I think it's like Bowlin and Ballin and all that shit from The Hobbit. I don't think you should read into it any further than that, quite honestly. This is interesting, though. But Perry's defense of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs comes about 2 weeks after he appeared in a BBC video criticizing film and television's depiction of individuals with dwarfism. So he's doing the same shit.
He's trying to do the halfway crook thing.
Yeah.
You know what? It's funny.
That's weird.
It's funny it got to this point because I was gonna say like, is this politically relevant? Meaning, and this is something I'm even cautious about being myself. Like, is this just using this guy as a beard because he's agreeing with us on this particular topic? Where it's like, oh, see, a short person a dwarf agrees with us. So whatever you said is wrong, Peter Dinklage. I found somebody who agrees with me. Fuck your opinion, which is not.
I mean,
really
maybe, but it's the source that would be making that point is also pointing out the fact that he says this other stuff. Yeah. So I don't think that's what's happening because this is batting in the comics. If anyone was going to take that angle, it'd be them, right? Because they're the ones who would fight against this. And in the very article where they quote him, they're giving all the examples of him doing the same shit. So I don't think so.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I guess that's what I meant before we got to that part. I was kind of where I was wondering. But.
Oh yeah, like and I do that too. It's like that tendency that like the second anyone like agrees with anything you like are passionate about, you're like, yeah, this person, see, you know, you really, I jump to that conclusion sometimes too.
Yeah.
And then it's like, I think I did with this guy. Now you're looking at it like, and you're like, oh, and now he's talking about like how the representation needs to matter and this, that, and the other. And, you know.
I still don't even get representation. And what I mean is like, at what point in life listen, I'm not saying obviously media matters, the stuff we love matters, but at what point was it that important? It has never been like, I've always viewed entertainment as like a part of life that is I hate to use the word privilege, but it's not like you're not guaranteed to get something entertaining. You're not guaranteed to get something you like. You don't deserve to be represented by some TV show because they can't really represent you correctly anyway. They don't know who you are. You have a unique set of likes, feelings, and you're a unique person. You're special. You're a star. So, but they can't. I've never felt represented by anything, no matter what the color of the actor is. So, like, I don't understand where the need for being represented in a piece of media came from, because I never thought that a piece of media was meant to represent anything other than itself.
Well, I think much like a lot of their SJW stuff, there's a kernel of truth in it. And I do think that if a certain group is depicted the same way over and over and over again, it does affect the public consciousness about the perception of that group. I mean, if you just look at straight white men now, like how they're being depicted in media, how it's being talked about in colleges, how it's being discussed on the news, there definitely is a tendency for people to believe that narrative because it's been so reinforced. So, as much as like it's tough to empathize with them. It's like, yeah, if a dwarf is always represented as a kind of a punchline, then whenever, some people in life would just see a dwarf as a living punchline.
I do get that. I guess it's like, I never felt represented. Like I never like any of even the past representations of how, I mean, there's been stuff I like, but a lot of representations of black people in movies always, black guy always dies in a horror movie traditionally. So I've in my head, I just threw it out. I said, you know what, this isn't reality. So I'm not going to treat it like reality. I'm never going to get what I want from this and walk away. So maybe they would say, oh no, we're going to, make you even more racial stereotypes to give you the representation that you want. But it's like, I never held it to that standard. I never thought that they were ever going to, it's not supposed to be that. It's supposed to be just bullshit. I definitely think there is something to, if you represent, stereotypes and perpetuating stereotypes, but it's like, I'm not writing this. I don't control what they're going to put out about whatever group. So I don't necessarily, I'm not looking for them to represent me, I guess is what it is.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. It's like I said, it's a kernel of truth. It's valid. I mean, I do think there's something to that. I think that's what most of these conversations really should be, is that it's about, influencing people's minds by just telling them your story and sharing your point of view so that people can come to their own conclusions about the future of making things or viewing people. I think that's the only real healthy way to go about it. You can't force people to think a certain way. But the difference is with you or normal people is that there's the radical point of view on it, where it's like it's the most important thing. And any injustice anywhere is cause for a revolution. And so that's why it's so passionate and powerful now, is because you have to attack it anywhere you find it. And it needs to be, you turn over every rock, racism, stab it. It's like it needs to be. That's why it's so important to them, because it's part of the revolution.
Well, I guess the point I was almost making it, like, there was a point in culture where you weren't even supposed to watch TV, meaning like you're not like, what are you doing watching TV all day, wasting your life? And now it's like, well, if the TV doesn't represent me, I can't begin my life. And it's like, no, you weren't supposed to ever use pop culture as a representation on anything. It was just supposed to be a temporary escape. I guess at some point these things became more important to the basic conscious. I don't know if this is a post social media thing, because when I was younger,
we never heard about this before.
Yeah, but like,
we did, but rarely.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is just to the emphasis on culture's importance in general, of making it like where something on TV has so much more impact over how you're supposed to live your life. Like, that was shied against when I was younger. In general, not even getting to the point of representation, just the idea that you cared that much about a TV show or a movie was like, no, you're not supposed to. It's just supposed to be something you watch, you like for that moment, and go on with your life. You can still be a fan, but you weren't supposed to even look for that, for these greater ideals. That wasn't the goal. You know what I mean? And
yeah, but that's, I mean, at some point you need to acknowledge that these things shape culture and they affect people's lives and minds. You can't look the other way on that one.
I'm not saying look the other way,
but I think it's a stupid point of view.
No, we've already hit an extreme, is what I'm saying. Even before you get to that, it went from something that was a part of culture to becoming the the master space for how culture should be viewed. Like there was still culture
Yeah.
outside of pop culture, and now there is less of that. It's like,
Yeah,
no,
but
everything has to be viewed
that's
like
life. I mean, that's what it is. I mean, that's, you know, those water cooler shows and Breaking Bad and things that
mm-hmm.
were cultural touchstones or lightning rods. I mean, yeah, that's just what it's become. I mean, we don't collect around
That wasn't
books.
your life though. That wasn't like, that was like, oh man, I like Breaking Bad. I'm talking about it with a friend, and then you went about your day. Or maybe that was the point where it started to become more people's life, or more people were like,
That's what I'm saying. Culture changed. It evolved into this or devolved or whatever. It's just, it's no way around it anymore. Like it's too centralized to everyone's lives. And that's why it needs to be throttled in their point of view, because it's too influential.
yeah, well, and that, if I do think we've missed, collectively missed something by making pop culture too important. Like that was the first mistake. We should have never made pop culture that important, because pop culture, no matter what happens,
This whole show is us defending pop culture.
I know we're the culture crime fighters, and I'm saying the first culture crime was letting pop culture have that much impact on us as a collective. We committed the first crime, but and the reason I say that is because,
well, what do we do? I don't know. All right.
Well, we're in it now. We got to keep fighting. But like pop culture is always only going to be owned by a few. I think what happened is social media gave more people the potential chance of mattering. So now it's like, oh, I can have a voice because I can have a Twitter, or I can have a fake book, or whatever. But like we're supposed to like it. We're supposed to even love it. But like, it's not supposed to be like everything. And at some point,
I agree, but you can't ignore.
And I'm not saying ignore it, but I'm saying like, maybe this is me again with my van life, logic coming to play, of just wanting to like run away from all this shit. But I'm like, man, why did we make it so, like, I remember it not being, I remember it being something that you talked down to, watching too much TV or watching too much, whatever. And those arguments.
Why don't kids play outside anymore?
Yeah.
When I was a kid, I had a good book, and that was enough for me. These kids with their iTunes and YouTubeables, I don't get it.
That's what I mean. We don't. There's no more of that push. But like, I was a kid and had old people tell me that, and there's no old generation like the modern 50-year-olds are on Facebook now. Yeah, that's what I mean. So I'm trying to be the old
culture
man.
Moved. Culture moved, man. It changed. People grew up on TV. And then TV got really good. It was intellectual and well written, and the point of view on it changed. It wasn't just like I've been reading these Marvel comics recently, and I'm enjoying it. It's really nice. Like it feels like genuine escapism. I don't feel like sucked into any of these kind of discussions. I do a little bit, and I'm going to get to that actually. But I mean, these comic books, they were packed with advertisements. I mean, is almost as much ads as there is comic book. Like you know what I mean? And it's just kind of, that's what it was. I mean, that's what culture became. It used to be, we read books. That's what smart people do. And now, pop culture it is what it is. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, there's no way around it.
No putting toothpaste back in the tube.
No way, man. No, we are well beyond that. Like this is just. This is the world we live in now, and it used to be Shakespearean plays and like storytelling around the campfire, and now it's Netflix.
Yeah, I mean, I get that, but like I'm just commenting that there was toothpaste in this tube before. There used to be toothpaste in the tube, and now the toothpaste has been so far out of the tube, it's all dry and shit, and we're used to that little crusty spot being on the counter, and we forgot that spot used to not exist. We're just like used to the crustiness and just adding more crust. I know that's like, what the fuck am I talking about? Like,
I'm trying. Like you are right. In a way, I mean, times change and our emphasis on culture has evolved. I just don't. I mean, you're right about that. But I just don't know what to do with it.
What to do? I don't know either. I don't know what to do with a lot of this stuff. Right? I'm just prepping for my van life.
I mean, I don't know if you ever read. Did you ever read this book? You ever read Fahrenheit 451?
I have not.
A great book. I mean, it's, like everything else. There used to be like a true intellectual revolt against all these ideologies, and this book is one of them. Because essentially, in this dystopian future, books are illegal. Like, you can't have books, and the only information is on screens, and it's on all the time, and it's just blaring at you constantly, and like having the right ideas. And if you get caught with books, it's like you're out. And there's like these constant wars going on, and the government's always feeding you misinformation. It's very relevant to what you're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, man. The older generation, before we became the older generation, they used to yell at us about, you should be doing all this other stuff. Why aren't you cutting people's grass? You're too busy playing that damn video game. And now the current batch of 50-year-olds are just like trying to make their Instagram look better. And it's like, what happened?
I think it's a great book, Senshin Dildo. I disagree with you.
Because
I haven't read it in a while, but it's a fuck, man. I mean, it was very impactful for me. I liked it. It's very 1984 George Orwell type stuff.
Yeah,
I think it's good. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous, but it's like in the concept of what it would be. But I like it. Anyway, what I want to talk about with comic books was, how I don't know if you're aware of this, but like social justice warriors have kind of gotten into pop culture, and they've started using their agenda to influence it. I don't know if you're aware of that, but
not at all.
It is happening. But I would read this comic book from 1987. It's Punisher number 3 from 1987.
Dope.
This is the cover, and he's fighting in it, and I was just laughing by myself when I saw who the villain was in this comic book. I was just like, the culture warriors are obsessed with who the villains are and their portrayals, right?
Yeah.
And what type of villains were allowed to fight. In this comic book, this guy, the Punisher, Frank Castle, is legitimately fighting a white nationalist.
Oh, Jesus.
Dude. And he's a former general, so it's like he's like the establishment white male. And in 1987, this is who Frank Castle's villain was. This country is being mugged into mediocrity by blacks, Puerto Ricans, and Mexicans.
Oh, Jesus.
What about the Jews? Like, this is legitimately who the villain of this comic book is.
Jesus Christ. And now the Punisher is a symbol of white nationalism. Look at how that worked. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's crazy.
The new American Revolution. Like, I was just reading that, and I couldn't believe it. Like, I was just like, so you're not even needed. Like, comic books have already done this. They're already doing it. You were so unnecessary. It's like you came into a space that was already fighting against the villains that are your biggest boogeyman, and then you had the nerve to lecture everyone in this space about how they don't have the right ideas and comics are white supremacy. Literally, this comic hero is fighting white supremacy in the fucking 80s. And you came along and told everybody how racist they are. Unbelievable.
Punisher 3. So this is early Punisher. This is one of the first
of that year.
Year.
Of that run or whatever, yeah.
But yeah, I think the Punisher started in the 80s.
Did it?
Yeah. Guys, correct me if I'm wrong. I think that's one of the early Punisher comics that existed. I mean, I think he might have been in other comics first, but his solo run would have started in the 80s. He might have existed as a character before that, just like, because Marvel has, so many crossovers, and they'll have characters that are just a part of the Marvel universe without having their own book. But I think he, the 80s is still, I think, the era. So this is still very
1978,
early.
Pat S.
78. So for some reason I thought he started in the 80s. Maybe that wasn't his first.
I think he's a Vietnam vet.
That makes sense. Starting in the 70s. Thank you, Pat S.
Hell, it's still early on, and it's well before social justice in comics.
Yeah. And it's just funny that same, the Punisher's now considered to be a white nationalist symbol, to the point where they changed the character into a Baphomet head to make it less white nationalist.
It's so it's so funny. Like you're a Jew, aren't you? You look like a Jew.
Oh Jesus.
Like the racism of this character is hilarious. Like he goes, "I'm not a Jew. I represent myself."
Oh,
And then
representation.
he says later on at one point, Punisher says, "Let's make a deal." Wait, hold on. He goes, "Let's make a deal." And he's like, "Just like a Jew."
Oh, Jesus Christ.
That's what he says.
Oh shit.
It was great. I can't believe this is this comic.
Yeah.
It was so funny. But I was just like, you weren't even needed. Like, not only, what was your, like, the ideology already being fought, you know what I mean? But it's like, you just, like, it was already existed. We didn't need you. It was being taken care of. Fuck right off, Kelly Sudaconic and all you lunatics. It's great. It's so funny.
Yeah. Well, I mean, part of it is they don't really read the history of anything they jump into. They just assume it was all white supremacy, and then just
That's exactly right.
They assume nothing existed before they were aware of it.
That's exactly how they look at it. Yeah, and
Yeah.
like what Centradilla just said that. Don't you know nothing existed before 2012?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that they would find a reason why this is not good. You know what I mean? I'm sure there's a reason why this isn't woke enough or progressive enough. They always do that because part of also I notice what their ideology is, if they're not in control of what's acceptable, that's also a big problem.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's not just like if they wouldn't be like, oh, okay, good to know. They would be like, yeah, well, all the writers on that were white men, or Frank Castle, like they would always find a reason why it's not good enough because it didn't come from them.
Yeah. Yeah. It's almost like what you were talking about with the Lord of the Rings. Like they would just want the power. They don't want to destroy the ring.
Yeah, they don't give a shit about it at all. It's not really about that. It's all just a power grab. I mean, I think Centradillo said it early on. It was something about compassion plus, it was something he said early on in the chat, but it was something about like compassion plus something is like the new left. It's like basically like exploiting people's compassion or like your natural instinct for empathy, and then using that as like power, like climbing the ladder with power.
Yeah.
It's pretty interesting stuff.
That is hilarious.
Yep. Yeah, I thought that was great. I was like, literally a white nationalist is the villain. And you
Yeah.
comics are racist. Shut up, fuck boy. Shut your stupid face.
Man. Yeah.
That's it. He says politics of envy packages politics of compassion.
Yeah. Yes,
yeah.
exactly what it is.
Very well put.
That's exactly what it is. It is definitely the politics of envy, man. Because people will say, "Oh, this person." I remember talking to shout out to Alkaline, the one lefty I talked to recently, and he brought up someone's money. I'm like, what the fuck does someone's money have to do with anything else in this conversation? Oh, they have the money to cover it. Who cares if they fucking have the money to cover it? They don't. It's not your job to take their fucking money. Are you crazy? But it's that envy element. It's like, oh, this person has more money, therefore they don't deserve as much compassion for some reason. It's like, no, they're still a human being. And you don't, just because it's not your money doesn't mean you have a right to tell someone else what the fuck they should do with their own. It's just like complete bullshit. So there's definitely that envy element of it.
Yeah. By the way, I got that. Not that I'm happy about giving. I think this must be owned by Disney because it's Marvel Unlimited. I don't know if it's I don't know who it is, but I did get that comic on Marvel Unlimited. They have all these, like you have to pay, but it's like they have all these like looks like every single back issue is digital. Which that's actually kind of tight because I mean the thing is I'm going through this comic collection right now and it's fun to read it, but there's huge gaps in the story. I'm like, I wish I could just kind of read the story consecutively.
Yeah.
Well, it turns out that I can without the ads.
Yeah.
Although, oh sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I'm getting a kick out of these old ads. They're just so much fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like there's an ad in this one, or someone for like Battletoads. I'm like, fuck, Battletoads.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Like,
Remember Battletoads? That shit was hard as shit.
Yes, the Blades of Steel, the hockey video game, like all this shit. I was like, oh my god, like these great advertisements for D&D, like modules and shit. I was like, oh, I want all this stuff.
Yeah.
All right, well, do you want to talk about the Howard Stern story?
Oh yeah. I did want to get into this whole Howard Stern.
All right, so I saw this on Variety this morning. Very compassionate. Howard Stern urges Meatloaf's family to speak out on COVID vaccine after his death.
Wow.
So recently, Meatloaf died, and I believe he died either from coof or complications from coof.
Was he not jabbed?
I think he was not, and I think he was an outspoken critic of it.
See, I didn't have that much knowledge that I just knew. Oh man, Meatloaf died. That sucks.
Well, I looked at some of the tweets, after he died, and there was,
Mm-hmm.
the blue check marks were like, he said, I'll take my chances, and now he's dead. Get jabbed, everybody.
Man, listen. Because here's what I don't get, and I know it's because of the message and everything, but listen, and I'm not a medical expert, and before that, we're not medical experts. But there are people who have been jabbed who have still caught the disease. That's not me saying anything controversial. That's me saying something factual. So because of that, there is no guarantee that if he was jabbed, that he would still be alive. That doesn't hold water because that's not the compassionate left. But that's not what has actually been, that's not what's bared out. There have been people who have even passed who were previously jabbed and caught the coof. So the argument is not valid by, I hate to say this word, science, because there are people who will get jabbed and will still catch this disease and still, unfortunately, succumb to complications. That is not me saying anything controversial or not proven, not something that can be completely backed up. So when that is the case, how can you then argue, oh, he should have did the jab? Because you don't know if it would help.
Well, I mean, you think that's giving them like so much credit. You know what I mean? Like that's not the point. Like this is evangelical.
Yeah.
It's the gospel according to, the media. Like it's not really, they're not like truly weighing the science. If they weigh the science, that none of this shit would be mandated. It wouldn't be forced. The science has contradicted their conclusions 1,000 times throughout this entire thing. I mean, look, do masks work or not?
Yeah.
Right there.
Very true. That's a very good point. It's like
it's all this shit has just been like dubious at best, and yet they're preaching it like it's the law. I mean, you have Rogan with this whole ivermectin thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's like he's been talking about that, how it works, and it's like it's an antiviral drug. It has been. The media, the official media says horse dewormer.
Yeah, which is complete bullshit.
Bullshit. It's not true.
Yeah, we were on fucking Nina Infinity talking about that actually right around when that stuff happened. Shout out to Nina Infinity.
So it's like this is evangelism. This is not about the truth. Not like Howard's weighing the odds or would hear other arguments. He believes the gospel for whatever reason. I always think that any of these people who like preach this stuff super hard, like Seth Rogen or Howard Stern, are compromised in some way and have
definitely.
to, they have to be the cheerleaders of the cause, because I don't understand any other explanation really.
You know what? In both cases, there's no doubt that they're compromised because Howard Stern, as somebody mentioned, I think it was it Keely? Who did the Pepperidge Farm? Yeah, it was Keely Child. Remember when Howard Stern was a thorn in the FCC side, Pepperidge Farm members. I also remember him having a lot of ladies around and being, was all about, sex and jokes and fart and all that shit. And so my imagination is a proto Me Too situation is likely. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because
sure.
he was, Howard Stern was one of the biggest pieces of media that existed. at
Yeah.
one point.
King of all
And
media, as he
king of all media.
proclaimed.
Yeah, but he had the biggest radio show on earth. He still had on a TV show based upon it, a movie. He was a really big deal, and I'm sure there are some situations with some ladies that probably wouldn't hold up to today's standards. And then even Seth Rogen didn't. James Franco was into the younger girls, and maybe Seth Rogen knew about it and didn't care as much. So my point is, I agree with you 100%. I think both people are specifically compromised, which is why they have to be a part of the thing. And just real quick, not that I missed the transvestigation, but fucking Howard Stern looks like a chick in this picture. What's going on?
That's pretty funny. Yeah, well, because the thing is, it doesn't make any sense otherwise, right? Like, if he makes like 500. He's on a $500 million contract at Sirius XM, like relatively recently.
Yeah,
like, it's not like he's living off money from the '90s. Like, he is so unbelievably set, and he's getting old. And like, so what are you doing? Why would you waste any energy doing this? Like, I would just live, to steal a phrase, I'd live my best life. I would just do whatever I wanted, travel, live in my mansion, just get blown all day, like whatever. Like,
yeah.
Why would you bother? I don't even understand. Like, at this point, like, it's not. I mean, maybe he thinks this is important. I can't understand it.
He doesn't want to happen. Ironically enough, he doesn't want what happened to Imus to happen to him, who was his big rival, and then they had the little issue. That was the first step of cancel culture, was fucking Don Imus. That's another can of worms for another day. But like, I think he just doesn't want to lose all that. He doesn't want to lose his clout.
I guess. I mean, there's nothing to lose here as far as I'm concerned. I mean,
yeah.
But unless there's something that would come out, like, well, we got these stories, we got these pictures, whatever. You better go out there and rally for the cause. Otherwise, who knows what might happen with this stuff.
I think that's exactly it. I think he has something that he doesn't want to get out, because he doesn't want to live his life in shame, and he doesn't want to be discredited or whatever. And so and I think part of it is he's always been a guy who wanted to be mainstream. No matter what he presented to you for his show, he always wanted to be mainstream. And now he is. He was on. Is he? I don't know if he still is, because I don't watch these shows. What does he know? American Got Talent. And like you said, the Sirius XM deal that he signed, 10 years, whatever it was, that makes him a ton of money. Yeah, he doesn't want to lose that status. It's the status. You're right. He has the money, but he wouldn't have the status if he was shamed. He doesn't want to be shamed. He doesn't want that scarlet letter.
Yeah, I mean, I guess. Like, we're just speculating. I have no idea what his motivations are, but that's just what would make sense to me logically, because I can't figure out why at this late stage in your life, when you already made it, you could do whatever you want now. You could just go into the studio, turn the mics on, and go to sleep, and people would still be listening. Like, there's, like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I don't get it. But so the article says Howard Stern is calling on Meatloaf's family to speak out on vaccines following the rock icon's death earlier this month. Meatloaf died January 20th. TMZ reported at the time that the singer has been, quote, seriously ill with COVID, and that his, quote, his condition quickly became critical. It is unknown at the time whether or not Meatloaf was vaccinated against COVID. It's unknown. But the singer challenged the COVID mandates in August of 2021 interview with the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, saying, I hug people in the middle of COVID. I understood stopping life for a little, but they cannot continue to stop life because of politics. And right now they're stopping because of politics. Oh, my goodness gracious. And the interviewer replied, oh, God, we're being controlled by everybody. Meatloaf responded, yeah, I know, but not me. If I die, I die, but I'm not going to be controlled.
To be fair, he doesn't necessarily, like you said, it's unknown whether he's jabbed. And there are people, I've met them, who are against the mandates and all that stuff, but did go get the jab. So you don't necessarily know that he is unjabbed. So right. that makes their argument even worse. What if he was jabbed? Then what? What do you want him to speak out on then? What if Howard Stern found out, yeah, Meatloaf did get the jab. He was against the mandates and the tyranny, but he got the jab and it didn't work. So you want him to speak out on that? Is that what you want? And yeah, his name is Robert Paulson. He was known as Meatloaf, but I prefer my meatloaf without preservatives, says Cavity Shape. Yeah, he never said he was anti-vax. You're right. He just said he was anti-mandate. So how would that backfire if you got what you wanted? He spoke. Yeah. You know what? Robert was vaccinated and it didn't work. Is that what you want? Because I don't know if he was or not, and I also can't help but to feel slightly uncomfortable about just like politicizing somebody's death. Either way, it's just like, man.
I mean, that's a really classless thing to do.
Yeah, man. This guy just died. It's really kind of a time to celebrate the stuff that he did and celebrate how great he is. And shout out, I can't say who that is. I do know who that is. Yo, Fran. Shout out to Yo, Fran.
Hell.
Few people in the chat know who he is, but
yeah, what's up, dog?
Keep secret identity secret. All right, go ahead.
He says, so then Stern goes on to say, Stern has used his Sirius XM radio show over the last several months to condemn anti-vaxxers. Speaking out about Meatloaf's death, still, I'd always like to point out and remind everybody that the original anti-vaxxers were people in Hollywood.
Yeah, they were.
Let's just remind everybody that this anti-vax thing started with like Jim Carrey and that blonde, what's her name, Jenny McCarthy, who were all anti-vax and on a whole campaign that vaccines cause autism, blah, blah, blah. And then what in Hollywood, like, not polio, smallpox was making a resurgence because of their anti-vaxxing. And now people who are questioning all this stuff, they're the anti-vaxxers. Got it.
Absolutely.
Got it. Check. Stern said this week via Uprocks, poor Meatloaf got sucked into some weird fucking cult. That's hilarious. And somehow really believe that he made a statement. I'd rather die a free man than take the vaccine. And now he's dead.
He didn't say that. We just read the quote. He didn't say that.
Right. He didn't. He just said, yeah. Very compassionate.
Way to lie, Howard.
And a lie. Yeah. Clearly in the camp that believes Meatloaf was against vaccines, Stern then urged the late singer's family to speak out on the matter. I wish the family would come forward and say, when Meatloaf was laying there in the hospital and he couldn't breathe, he said, I made a mistake. I should have taken the vaccine. Like all these anti-vaxxers say, I made a mistake. Now, none of that happened. What you just want that fairy tale to have happened so that you can be right, Stern.
Yeah. Well, at least, he's still classless, so he still has that from the 90s.
And he says, yeah, it's true. He held on to that characteristic. The radio host told anti-vaxxers, it's time for you to get it. Now, if you don't get it in my America, all hospitals would be closed to you, and you're going to go home and die. That is what you should get. Absolutely.
Jesus.
That's Howard Stern said that.
Great. That's just great. I'm so glad that, like, this. Did he have a nose job? Is that why he looks like a woman? Like, he looks really weird now. Like he's done something physically to his face, and that's why he doesn't look like a human being anymore. And it's really bothering me.
Very well could be. The Whitfield Report. Thank you, buddy. Throwing a $9.99 super sticker out there. Hey. And it says number one fan. Thank you.
Appreciate it, Whitfield Report.
Appreciate you,
the
brother.
report on Whitfield. So,
thank you so much. Appreciate you. He looks like Tootsie. Judas Goat Barbecue. That's pretty
Judas
funny.
Goat.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's completely typical of the way they communicate, the way they talk about stuff, but it's just like, if this was, could you imagine if someone said that about AIDS?
Man, they would never say anything. And remember when there was all that crazy stuff about AIDS? There's a fucking Captain Planet cartoon where the people were scared to be around him or something like that because he had AIDS and shit like that. And it was like, it was supposed to be anti-AIDS something.
Fear.
Yeah. But they went on to say, you're not supposed to think that way about people with HIV. But like that was the prevailing thought. But yeah, you would never say something like this. Like, oh, you have to take this, experimental gene therapy. And if you don't, then and something happens to you, then we need to celebrate your death and politicize your death.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that is a tougher analogy because it's like it's the forced use of the medication that's really the impetus here. But still, just to be that compassionless about just the people and this cruelty and like, oh, if you don't get it, you shouldn't be allowed in a hospital. It's like, I'm glad you don't write policy, you fucking piece of shit. Like,
It
I
sucks. The people
just
who write policy aren't too far off from this though.
no. I mean, that's true.
And that's insane. It's insane to me. Again, Howard invented the entire scenario in his head. We still do not know whether or not Meatloaf was vaccinated or not. He didn't say anything against the vaccines. He said something against the policy, but he said nothing, at least in that quote, at least from what I can tell, against the vaccines or whether or not he will be vaccinated. Again, he probably wasn't, but he may have been, because again, there are people who have an opinion on the policy, but still, because they have free will and they're allowed to do what they want, they still go ahead and get the vaccine. That's not me, but if that's what these people want to do, that's up to them. Yeah. And so, like, he invented the scenario where he's a quote unquote anti-vaxxer, and somebody brought up AOC. How did she got it? I
didn't even know she got it.
Yeah, she got it when she went to Florida. That was kind of
no way.
Yeah. And she's been jabbed.
Wait a second. That's suspicious.
Who knows? Maybe it was like a thing where that was a plan. I'm not sure. But like, yeah, there have been countless people who have gotten it and still been jabbed. So there's no guarantee that a jab would have saved Meatloaf's life. There's no guarantee that he didn't already get the jab. But and this is why I even feel uncomfortable talking about somebody's life like this. It's like, man, you just wasted zero seconds before you can politicize somebody's life and make it out to be some narrative. And I don't want to do that in reverse, man. Meatloaf was a dope musician, and his life you should be celebrating his art and what he did and the joy he brought to people, and remembering him fondly, because he, as far as I know, he doesn't have any crazy scandals. It's not like he did anything any wilder than any other rock star at the time. And you should just, that's what it should be focused on. It shouldn't be like, oh, let's talk about his his jab status and have his family speak out. No, it's like, no, let it. Jesus, his body is it even cold yet? Good God, you just,
yeah, right.
Like, let it breathe. Like, let his memory mean something. Don't just immediately go from zero to politicizing it. And then
do it so callously. Like, I mean, obviously I can't hear like the way, like his inflection or whatever in that quote, but it just sounds like so just dismissive and just cruel in a way that's just like, yeah, you fucking should have got it. If you don't get it, you should die too. It's like, Jesus Christ, dude.
It's insane to me.
I just got all distracted with that AOC thing. That threw me off. I didn't even know that happened.
Oh yeah, I knew it happened, and to kind of go on the same thing, I thought it was a bit, even though, more like, she did survive, obviously. I thought it was a bit crude. There was a lot of people joking about that. I'm like, I don't really want to joke about it either.
That's suspicious to me though, because it's like, all right, wouldn't that be a great point for the conversation where you'd be like, the most lockdowny of lockdown people, who says do all this, get the jab, this, that, and the other. Hello, Snortapoopus.
Hello, Snortapoopus. Hello.
She got it. So the conclusion could be very easily that, oh, look at all the bullshit. I mean, I guess that doesn't really matter. That doesn't make any waves. But then I'm like, wait, did she get it as propaganda?
Yeah, like she went to Florida and, oh, those dirty Floridians, they gave me the goof.
Yeah, see, everything will work if you lock everything down. But that's so weird. That story, that just slipped right on by me, and I guess they're not really doing anything with it.
Yeah,
that's a weird one.
Yeah, I'm surprised you didn't hear about it. Yeah, she went to Florida with her straight white man, and they caught the coof.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, Jesus Christ, we did a lot today, Vidge.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we did.
We fought some culture crime.
Yeah, I even had an existential crisis on culture itself.
Yes, cool. You did. Yes, you did. Maybe we should just make it clueless anti-football pussies.
Instead of culture crime fighters.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I love all this stuff. Well, not this shit. I hate the political shit, but I love pop culture. It's dope. I do feel like we've made it too important, which is why they're able to take it over. This shit does mean a bit too much to us, and that was a personal choice that we all gave into, which gave inroads to this madness. Because even if it's not impacting us directly, or even if we can see through the bullshit, there are millions and millions of people who are being fed bullshit and accepting it. Rather it's on the coof, rather it's on some ESG shit, rather it's the fucking unfortunate kindergartners now that are being taught about gender and all this other crazy shit from their sick woke ass teachers. It's like now it's a fucking crisis. It's an actual pandemic of wokeness, ESG, mind control essentially. And the first step was letting pop culture become so important to us personally that it can happen. That's my
So what do you
what's the solution?
Yeah,
Yeah,
like what do we just devalue pop culture, or we devalue the things we like? What do we go back to reading War and Peace? Like what do we do?
I do think we should have a person. You know what it is? We could definitely devalue the current culture and the future culture. We can definitely devalue the bullshit they come out with, which is what we've been doing for the past few years. We haven't on this show itself. Have we had even one segment on Boba Fett? I don't think we have.
I talked about it on the Cocktail Lounge a few times.
I think I do remember on the Cocktail Lounge. We haven't really talked about it because it's not nothing to talk about. It's like us. I think did we do the? I think we might have shown the Power Rangers thing. Maybe that was.
Well,
the
that's
Cocktail
hilarious
Lounge.
though.
Those fucking speeders.
That's so funny. Like that's because I don't care that it's bad. Like I mean, I care that it's whatever. I don't care. Like I just don't have anything invested in it. Like I think it's like you're stupid if you thought it was going to be good. I don't know why you'd waste your time on it. But just seeing that image is hilarious. Like it's like someone just completely cosplaying. I don't even know what they were doing. It's like that doesn't resemble Star Wars in the slightest, and it's hilarious that is what they created. That's what Favreau and what's his name,
Robert Rodriguez.
Robert Rodriguez. That's what they made. You're just like,
yeah. Did you get that from the Spy Kids? Like, where did that come from?
What even is that?
How was I supposed to like this? The whole point of and that's a zone tangent. The whole point of having Robert Rodriguez do Boba Fett was for it to be more like Desperado, not like more like Spy Kids. So that's not what we wanted. We wanted a kind of more of a badass, kick-ass thing.
I don't want anything from them.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's to go back to where our points. That is kind of the step. It's apathy. We do need to start showing some of this stuff apathy. We can't give all. We do have to fight back. We have to pick our battles. There are some battles worth fighting. There's some hills worth dying on, and that we should fight on. And then there has to be apathy towards the things that deserve apathy. And that's.
I mean, yeah, I'm apathetic to all of it. Like I'm just getting to the point. Like I don't have interest in watching anything, even old stuff. I'm just like, you know what? I'm done with all this for a while.
Yeah.
That's why I'm reading comic books right now. Like that's been my entertainment. I have not turned on the TV. I don't care about watching anything. I mean, the last thing I watched was RoboCop.
Hey.
And and I was just like, it's too exhausting. It's too draining. And I have a personal thing with it too. Because of my wanting to be in the industry, like wanting to spend time as an actor, and I realize that is coloring a lot of my point of view as well. That I'm over the whole thing for a while. Like the disillusionment is real, and it's just like I'm like, all right, I need to just kind of recalibrate what my values are in general. Like I'm kind of with you in a way of do I even care about pop culture anymore? I'm not even sure that I do.
Yeah. And you know what? I wanted to ask you this a little earlier when we were talking about the James Lindsay book. I do recognize you dealt with wokeness in a very direct way, as a way of life, in a way that I didn't. I was something I would get exposed to every now and again in real life, but it was mostly some shit I saw on the internet for the most part. Like I said, I would have my moments and have these woke ass moments trying to look for a job in the tech industry. Outside of that, it wasn't I was being yelled at for being a straight white man by everybody in the world. So I do recognize that that Hollywood experience definitely colored your experience to all of this. It had to. There's no way it didn't, right?
Yeah. Is there? Yeah, I mean that's the case. Yeah.
I guess because like I feel like I have less interest in trying to understand them. Just fuck them, but I wasn't dealing with them every
Oh,
day.
I see what you mean. Um, Perhaps. I mean, yeah, maybe that is. I mean, when just having known so many of these people and had like had these arguments,
Yeah,
in life, where it's like arguing with my buddy's girlfriend, you know what I
mhm.
mean, to the point where it's like essentially that destroyed a relationship with me and my friend. Not like the
Yeah,
argument, just the fact that he became increasingly more and more woke, and that like everyone I knew in my personal life, it's like you navigate these worlds and you just keep like like, oh, you treat people like individuals, and then you realize like there's no such thing as individuality. It's all about the collective. Even and you see their hypocrisy. So maybe my interest is characterized from having lived in that city for so long and just been so inundated with it that you feel like such an outsider, when you're just trying to be like a decent person.
yeah,
Yeah, it could be. I mean, that does make a lot of sense, to be completely honest.
yeah. Because like I just like I'm like fuck it, they're just a bunch of idiots. But like with you, that was like literally you were trying to be an actor in Hollywood in this era, which is like the epicenter of the purest wokeness that could possibly be. Like you were right
Yeah.
there,
Yeah.
and I can imagine how
Yeah,
that
it was fucking insane, and it
as a
was
straight white male as well. Like that's
and an unapologetic, like disagreeer.
yeah, with the
Like
belly of the
I
beast.
never, I wouldn't just attack people for their ideas, but I would always, I'd like, I would disagree or engage, and that's a dog whistle to them. Like that. I read that in this book. Like that's part of it. Is like anyone who disagrees, that's like a red flag that they're, their problem. They are part of the patriarchy that oppresses people. The system that's structured to oppress people that are not that one group. So they didn't matter whether I was making good points or not. The fact that I was disagreeing was cause for argument and attack.
Yeah. And honestly, something just hit me like of another like true motivation. It is to get people to go along and get along. Since you dildo, read my mind, groupthink. Like,
Yep.
because I'm sure there were people who probably agreed with you, but they just
Oh
want to
yeah.
go along to get along. They just didn't want to start any trouble. They didn't want to engage anything. And that was really the difference. They would just, okay, yeah, but you don't say that. Just like there's so many people who are quote unquote closet conservatives or whatever in Hollywood, or closet non-leftists or classical liberals, and they're not really with a lot of this bullshit, but they don't want to say anything. They'll send messages. Oh, I'm so thank you for speaking out. And it's like you can be a part of it too, but so
Please, I mean, for the love of God, like step the fuck up. Like, we need more people disagreeing with it. The more individuals who actually do step up and say something that risk something by disagreeing, the more powerful the disagreeing group becomes.
yeah, and the more hopefully impactful uh, we
Yeah.
become, and it's not succumbing to the mindlessness of this like authoritarian group think 1984 nightmare that society is trying to shape us into becoming, and is on its
Yeah.
way to becoming.
Yeah, I wanted to address what Senja Dodo says. So why don't you watch good shows, Matt? And Whitfield says Yellowstone's actually pretty good. I've heard that about Yellowstone.
I have
I
to.
actually, and I did get Paramount Plus because I was watching football this weekend, so maybe I'll check it out. The reason though, Senja Dodo, is I guess it's partially all this woke stuff. It's partially the personal thing, where I just like now I almost see these people on TV on these shows. I just kind of like resent them.
Mm,
Like I find myself like it's harder to like fall into the trick, like the magic show of the entertainment. Like I just kind of like I'm just so turned off by it, and it's not like I'm sitting there stewing like oh these wokies, or I'm just not entertained by it. Like I just don't find myself finding it interesting. And I don't know if it's because we rally about this stuff all the time, or I'm just still bitter about it not working out in Hollywood or whatever. I don't know exactly why, but literally when I turn on anything, even things I kind of enjoy, I'm just like, nah. I'm like, I think I'm in a phase of my life where I'm just kind of not watching anything, and I've never gone through a phase like that. So maybe that's a good thing.
yeah, and I mean,
Oh,
yeah, we
look
got
at that Whitfield
super
report.
chat. Shout out to Whitfield
No,
report.
hell, I just subscribed to you too, by the way, buddy.
Yeah. I want to
Says,
see reports on Whitfield.
Yes. For $4.99, he says, I highly recommend Yellowstone's for shows to watch. Also, Jack Carr's novels are great reads and not woke at all. Cool. Send you dildos. But thank you, Whitfield Report. I appreciate you, brother. I'll probably check that out. I mean, I don't know how strong my resolve on not watching anything is going to last.
Yeah.
And now that I have Paramount Plus, I'll pop it. I hear really good things about Yellowstone, so I'll have to check it out.
I have two. Man, sometimes I feel like they kind of have one, and so, they took the fun. I feel similar. I don't necessarily have the urge to watch stuff. Like sometimes I do, but just sometimes it's like, man, I don't.
I mean, yeah, you're kind of right, though, Zenyadoto. They kind of did win. It's kind of like it's not even that they won. It's just I'm like, I don't want to play with those toys anymore.
Yeah, everything feels more of a chore. Watching TV feels a lot more of a chore instead of something I go to escape.
Yeah, man, I've been playing more video games. Like I've been playing Wasteland 3. I'm enjoying that. Feels like escapism to me.
Yeah,
I go into this weird dystopian future and kill robots, and then listen to a podcast, and that's enough entertainment. Like I don't really feel the need to go watch a movie or a TV show right now. Like I'm enjoying reading these old comic books. Like that's just like a time portal back to the mid 90s, the early 90s. Like, that's great. It's fun. It's authentically fun. And so I'm like, I can give it a miss for a while. I mean, what's the difference? Like I had The Expanse. I really enjoyed that. I don't feel like I'm ever going to get anything like that, at least not for a long time. So I'm just not that interested. And I think I'm fine with that. I think I'm okay with just not watching anything for a while. Like, big fucking deal. I don't watch TV. I'll get over it.
Yeah. Like back in the day, there were people who didn't have TVs. They were the hipsters, and they would tell. Like I was talking about earlier, where they're like, "Oh, you watch too much TV, you play too many video games." There are people like that. So if you find entertainment in other ways, and there's a trillion things to find entertaining now, like you said, podcasts, video games, classic comics. Hey, then it is what it is. You don't necessarily need to find to go to the normal places for entertainment and look for entertainment.
Listen, don't tell me what to do. I fought the right in the early 2000s. I fought the left now, and now I will fight dildos. Okay, sir? Will not be told what to do by anyone, any group, any contingent. Least of all sentient sex toys. This guy. Maybe I'll think about it. I don't know. I was never even that big a fan of Breaking Bad, so
I got 3 episodes in and no further. I know everyone loves the show. I know I'm the worst person on earth for not liking Breaking Bad, but it wasn't me.
I liked it for 2 seasons, then I just felt like it just got so ridiculous and overblown and cliched. Mm-hmm. Oh, the 2 bad guys, they don't look back at the explosion. Oh, I've never seen that trope before. Boo!
Yeah.
So I don't know. Well, that's it's 2:00. I got to eat before work. I'm feckin' starving.
Yeah, the nooner's starting, so people are going to leave anyway.
Nooner's starting, yeah. So people are going to go watch Gary. Go watch Gary. He's the man.
Yeah.
Gary.
Yeah, you know what? Say Culture Crime Fighters raid. I know there will be no one who notices, but say that we raided the nooner. Do that for us.
That would be great.
For us. For freedom.
Oh, Send Your Dildos says Better Call Saul is way better anyway. All right, well, maybe I'll watch it. Maybe. I don't know. If I fucking feel like it, I might. We'll see. We'll see. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Culture Crime Fighters. Number 48, we said? Yeah,
yep, 48. Pretty close to 50.
Really appreciate you. And if you don't want to go watch the nooner, if you're like, no, guys, please don't leave. I need more. Fear not. Fear not. There is more Culture Crime Fighters content out there. We have the Culture Crime Fighters Secret Identities on Patreon, which you can go check out right now. There's a new episode that we just dropped this morning or this afternoon at noon. It's our 7th episode, the Clueless Anti-Football Pussies 2. Another really fun episode. I love doing these with Vigilante. I think they're great entertainment. If you guys aren't there, I feel like you're missing out. You should check it out. We also made the first episode free.
Yeah.
Virgins, so you can go to Patreon without spending any money whatsoever and listen to the first episode about me and Vigilante losing our virginity separately with girls.
Yeah.
We didn't lose our virginity to each other, with other people.
You-
And that's up there for free. And if you like more, $5 gets you the rest of the episodes.
Yeah. And you can see why Cinch a Dildo has been running with this, like, me and girls who have significant others in jail. You can understand why. Like, why does Cinch a Dildo keep saying that? I don't get it. You can understand that why if you check that out, check that episode out.
Oh,
I don't like convict girls. That's not my thing. I'm not trying to get killed, but whatever.
Yeah, tight. I just got right there at the end. I got another super chat from Sean Connery. Hale tipped me $6.90, but he didn't say anything. Well,
just a
thanks.
Tip.
Appreciate the tip. Thank you, buddy. Terrific. All right. Anything else, Mr. Vigilante?
Nope. That's it. Please check out my channel. Please sub if you haven't. You know, because I do my own thing. Even though for the most part we're just doing retro gaming, but you know what? People have been watching my fucking retro game streams. They get way more. Just a tip. They get way more than like me talking shit about pop culture. So apparently people like Mario better. So please check me out. Check that out, and I'll be back for at least a part of the MFer. So
right on. Whitfield, by the way, I don't see the message on Twitter, buddy. If you did, try to send it again.
Yeah.
But appreciate you. All right, bye everybody. We'll see you next week. Have a good one. Patreon, Peace. Culture Crime Fighter, Secret Identities.
Yes, give us money.
Woo.